Welcome to All Docs on Deck, where we explore wellness, wealth, and womanhood through real conversations with women doctors across the diaspora. Another episode starts now. Hello, girlfriends. Welcome back to the All Docs on Deck podcast. We have been having an extraordinary time with our guests, and tonight will be no different because we have the one and only Dr. D in the house. Dr. D is a first-generation Latina, Taína, Dominican immigrant dedicated to healing, trauma, and social justice. She's the upcoming author of her transformational memoir, Every Little Girl Has a Story. Dr. D works globally as a trusted healing justice advisor, coach, and consultant for a wide array of institutions, businesses, and community-based organizations, working at the intersections of social justice and social service. With over 25 years of experience, she is renowned for her extraordinary ability to identify the social, emotional, and spiritual impact that intergenerational violence, poverty, and trauma have on women's ability to love, live, and lead. Dr. D designs personal and organizational training, facilitation, and retreats supporting women and girls of color in leadership, from executive directors, entrepreneurs, creatives, other healers, advocates, teachers, social workers, everybody, right? To go through healing and transformational change processes from trauma, scarcity, and deficit to healing, resiliency, and sustainability. As a survivor, healer, and legacy builder, Dr. D has transformed her memoir, Every Little Girl, both into a movement and a business, a legacy brand born from love, lineage, and liberation, where healing becomes inheritance. And legacy begins with the courage to tell your story. Dr. D believes that a world free from violence starts with understanding that economic freedom and emotional healing are inseparable. She's dedicated to breaking generational cycles of trauma and building generational wealth through healing, storytelling, and entrepreneurship. She's committed to creating safe spaces of healing and empowerment for people who want to take their leadership to the next level, where young and adult women, LGBTQ, and communities of color can powerfully live into their future, birthing sustainable families and leading a new world. Oh my God, y'all,
Wow.
what a privilege it is to know this dynamic girlfriend
Yes.
right here. Welcome, girlfriend. Thank you for answering the call, for
Welcome.
saying yes.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my
It's
God.
such an
Powerhouse.
honor.
Right?
Every time somebody reads that bio, I'm like, who's that?
That
That's
right? That's
definitely
you,
not that.
honey. That is
That's you, girl.
you.
That's you, girl. But
I
I
love
just have
it.
one question. Like, how did y'all meet? Because I'm like, I mean,
Right.
there's power there. There's power
Mm,
there. How
mm.
did this power come together? What's your girlfriendism story?
Yes.
Definitely went to St. Croix
Yes.
many, many years ago. I'm talking about maybe
Mm,
2015, 16,
mm,
around there,
mm.
maybe before that.
Yes.
And I went to we were again in an advocacy
Yes.
training, and they took us to our girlfriend's closet
Mm-hmm.
as part of our trip to kind of see what
Yes.
was happening on the island. And so I
Yes.
vividly remember that trip. I think all
Yes.
this amazing work, and you were showing us, you had just had a fashion show and you had all
Yes.
these amazing pieces in your space. And so if you want to
Yes.
get to be my friend, you just got to take me shopping
I know that's right,
to
honey.
anybody's closet. I don't care what closet it is. And
Just take me to
so,
the closet, honey. Let's shop. That is so
yeah,
true.
and so yeah, that's what I remember how we initially met. And then,
Yes.
we dreamt some things up, a lot of things actually, and have been able to put some of those things. And so we did a recent retreat
Yes.
together in St. Croix, and we were
Yes.
thinking about bringing some sisters to the Dominican Republic.
Yes.
And we've just been kicking off and
Yes.
reconnecting, and also supporting each other, just growth in
Yes.
our own capacity. So
Yes.
yeah.
That is so true. It's like I
Wow.
don't even remember
Wow.
life without you now that you're here, you know?
Aw.
Well, and I think it's
Asking.
also very rare. I
Yes.
think the relationship is a very rare relationship, right? And then
Mhm.
we'll be talking about girlfriends and sisterhoods and
Yes.
what all of that means, right? Especially now that we are in a professional kind of space,
Yes.
how rare it is to find a sister you just kind of vibe with
Mhm.
and is unconditionally supportive, and also has their own story of survivorship. And we're
Yes.
just super open, and I think that really creates a
Definitely
different
helps.
type of
Yeah.
space.
I love that story. And I'm not
Mm.
surprised that you all are friends because you're like-minded and always trying to give back, offering the workshops and the trainings to help other people. So that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
So that takes us to that question of who were you before the doctor? And I'm curious to learn about this too, because so much of your work is about that little girl. It's so powerful. So who were you before you were Dr. D, as we humanize you?
Wow, I was just a teen mom from from Washington Heights in New York City. Just a Latina girl, trying to make it out of the hood, and became a young mom at 15. And so all the everything was stacked against me. But I had a super mom, right? That we all have, those super moms, and who was a domestic worker here in the United States, and just kind of covered me, right? All I can say is I was covered by her and was able to, finish high school. And then I got pregnant again, all the things, right? I got pregnant again. I have a beautiful son as well. My children are in their 30s, so I'm pretty done. But yeah, I come from, strong women. I have a story of what is this? Adoption, right? And so I was originally born in the Dominican Republic, from a young lady who was a prostitute in a brothel that my father owned. And they had an affair. And here comes this beautiful soul. And my mother, my mom who adopted me, was the madam of the house. And she also took care of the women of that home. So she took them to the hospitals, right? All the things that they need to do to be in health and wellness in their prostitution work. And she also took care of their children. So, she was a mother to my mother, who was a young 16-year-old mom also. And she had already had a couple of children before me. And so my mother had taken care of her children. And then I came along, and because I was her husband's child, and she couldn't have children. So, right, when I replay that story, I'm like, wow, what a beautiful story, right? In its tragedy, right, of women's stories all over the world. It's also a beautiful story of women helping each other, right? So you have one sister who couldn't have a child, another sister who could. I came in through that space, and they kind of both got what they wanted, right? And because they became friends. And so I don't come from a space where there is not sisterhood. I don't know what it is to not trust another woman of color, to not believe in another sister of color. I don't come from that place. I come from a home where my mom was raising a whole bunch of young sisters that, their parents didn't want them, or she picked up young sisters, and that's how I was raised. And so it's a beautiful story. And when I started doing my healing journey, moving forward, I didn't want to become a doctor. That wasn't kind of in my space. I just started really doing a lot of teen advocacy work, because I was a teen mom at a time when that was not okay in this country. Right now it's kind of normal, but I guess I kind of felt like one of the first teen moms. A lot of judgment around it. Community was like, she needs to get an abortion, all the things, right? And so fast forward, when I started kind of being in toxic relationships, or what we're calling now toxic relationships. For us, they were just relationships.
They're just relationships.
So when I started seeing some patterns, and I started looking back, right, at my story, and why certain things were hard for me to leave, or why I was, needed to be with somebody 24 hours a day. There was just some little things. I was like, oh, okay, this stems from being abandoned at a young age, having a core wound that I really need to start healing about. And then obviously looking at the story, right? Being a teen mom, going through abortions in my youth, going through domestic violence in my youth, all the stories, right? And then I'm like, oh, I need to start on a healing journey. And so that kind of kicked me off into who I am today.
This is amazing. I was taking notes, and I want to thank you so much for sharing your story of community, because usually when we hear stories of community, it's not that type of story that you just shared. So you just gave us and our listeners a completely different perspective and take on community. The end result being the same as that, where when you said you felt covered, like your mother covered you, that in itself is a blessing. As you had those different challenges to get through, you had somebody covering you, and I was just like, wow. So community, it definitely is a different take on community. And from there, you understanding the importance of what strong, loving community looks like, despite what other people may say about that unit. So I absolutely love that. Absolutely loved it.
Thank you. And that took years of healing, right? And obviously, I think when we do podcasts, when we do trainings, right, and we see these people speaking, right, while they're famous people or whoever, I don't think we understand that they're talking in retrospect. right? That they've gone through some growth, they've gone through some healing, they've gone through some things, they've been able to put some, a story together, right? And then I'm saying it, right? So as I'm going through life, I'm not thinking this way, right? But when I met my mother at 35, my mom went with me. And when they got reunited, my children were there, we were all there. And, I was like, oh, these are two women, right? Like it clicked. These are two women who have a beautiful story, like they hugged, and I have beautiful pictures of both of them together and them talking about how they both, she was like, I'm not going to give you to your dad. I'm going to give you to this. I trust her with my child. I don't trust him with my child. I trust her with my child. And hearing that, right, was like, oh, the start of putting that story together of like, oh, y'all were sisters, right? This wasn't, what do we call it in our community?
The surrogate now, like a surrogate. That's what they call it.
Yeah,
now.
this wasn't a surrogate, and this also wasn't the other woman.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's not how they treated each other, right? There's not the other mother or whatever. It was just kind of like this altar, right? They created this sanctuary, this sacred space, this sacred agreement between them, that it was in my best interest that my mother took me, and that I was going to be my best self, right? In this environment with this particular woman, and that, that's their agreement, right? That they fulfilled it. And so when they met, right, 40 years later again, then it's like, oh wow, you fulfilled your agreement, right? Because I'm alive, and well. So that was really beautiful to watch, and that's when I started being like, oh, I'm not an abandoned child. I'm a gift, right? I was a gift to another woman who couldn't have children. So I also had to reframe my own story, because I think we live in a world, right? And you both are in this field where there's so much self-diagnosing, right? And it's like, oh, I'm the abandoned child, or I'm an introvert, I'm this, I'm that, and it's like, no,
labels,
right?
And if we're gonna do that, then make that an empowering label, right? And so I went from being this abandoned little girl, right, which was the whole premise of every little girl has a story, which was my little girl looking for her mom, despite the fact that I've always had one, right? Because I didn't grow up without one. But then I was like, I'm a gift. Hold on a second. I am not a wounded child either, right? Like I became this gift, and then I became a gift to the world through my work. Right. So reframing also positions your assignment on this earth.
This is
kudos to you for the reframe and for recognizing and taking the time to like reflect on the experience and saying, okay, I want to take this experience now and transform this to now this healing process that I can take others on this journey. In that process, when you talk about the altar and you talk about the sanctuary, what are some of the mental health practices from your culture that you feel are overlooked, or from our culture that you feel are overlooked, that help you to say, I'm going to start this healing process?
I think I'm going to answer that from a very recent experience, right? So I went back to the Dominican Republic 2 times as a semi-retired person, right? Like I've created my own little life, and I was like, I'm going to be semi-retired. And I went back home, and I remember going, as a privileged American Latina, right? And what that means is I went back with all my academic shit, right? This is how we do survivor work. This is, our definition of that. If people are drinking, they're alcoholics. If, you're going through domestic violence, you're a survivor. All the things. And I remember being in a partnership, and in that family, because in my family, it's there as well, but particularly in this family, a sister was going through different types of sexual assault. And there was a young lady. And I remember I'm like bugging. I'm like, what is going on? Oh my God, we need to find her safe space. Like the list of what we do here in the States. We need to find her safe space. And where are all the people? Why is she not safe? Yeah, like why is this happening to her when she comes home? I don't understand. I'm going through it. And the next day, my partner says to me, "Why are you stressing yourself? She's dancing. She's in the malecón dancing.
Right, right.
And you still going through it."
Yes, yes.
And it was the start of, oh boy,
Yeah.
I am not just coming back home, but I need to undo this educational piece around,
Wow.
one, how we deal with
Right.
trauma, that we are in a consistent traumatic conversation in this country, that we are consistently have glasses on looking for, right? And rightfully so in this country, where there's a gap, where people need support, where there's mental health, where there's poverty. I mean, we are searching for it all day. We're looking for evidence all day, especially for those of us that are advocates, right? And service providers and all of that. That is the lens we come into the United States with. In my country, you don't do that.
Yes, yes.
I'm not saying that there are not mental health professionals and there's psychiatrists and there's all of that, but that is not the culture of the Caribbean, right? It's like something happens to you today. It can be the worst thing, right? Rape, sexual assault, domestic violence, and the next day you get up.
Yes.
You got to still take your kids to thing. You're still a wife. You are, and then you go dancing.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That is so
you
true.
drink it off.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, we have to read books in this country to learn how to let go and to learn how to detach. And in my country, it is a muscle that is developed. It is an embodiment. So it's not that sisters are not going through it and community do not have mental health, but they are not embodying it. They are not in that conversation all day. They are not judging each other because of it. It's like, oh, that's just, that's what's happening. That's what she is. That's what she is. That's what it is. All right, and let's go. Where are we going tonight? Like, let's keep it moving. We can't afford to stay in this conversation, right? And victimize ourselves and each other because of it.
Yes.
And I didn't understand it at first. And I think I went from really not understanding my sisters to being like, y'all are crazy as hell, to actually, by the time I came back in 2024, I gave my hats off. Like, I literally sat down, the women that I worked, was in sisterhood with, that they didn't know, but I was judging them because I was like, what the hell is happening here? And I said, you know what? Y'all are dope as hell. You have a muscle that I don't have.
Yes.
I did not have to develop that muscle.
So you're working with women in the Dominican Republic. So how did that shift the work that you're doing? Like what did it change for you in your, I guess I'll call it your therapeutic modalities that you're utilizing there? So how did you shift from more of that, what I call probably like the intellectual part, the book knowledge, to more cultural healing for the women?
I think what I bring now is this conversation to survivors around honoring what they are doing. It is something we don't do here. We are like, you're doing it all wrong. That's why you in this situation. Like, you don't have no resiliency. You need somebody outside of you
to come and help you and to save you.
To come help you and to save you. And if we just give you housing and economic empowerment and we get you a job, you're gonna leave. Right. And that's not
it's
true.
Not the truth.
And so I think I now come to survivors, or I come to not to survivors, but to the conversation of survivorship, to a place of like, women who are survivors actually have discernment. We are the best discerners. Because in order for you to survive, you need to know, you need to be discerning 24 hours a day, your environment. When you're going to get knocked, when you're not going to get knocked, when he coming, when she coming, whoever it is, right?
And strategic. And strategic.
You have some ancestors looking out for you. So whether that is physically manifested or not in your home, you have spirituality. There's no way to be a survivor, go through it, come out on the other side and thrive and have your children and all of that and you not be a spiritual person. There's no way. And so part of it is bringing back the sacred back into the conversation of survivors, and that they know what they're doing. They have everything that they need. They just need another sister to mirror to them, right? To affirm them, to say, look, there's another side. I'm on it. And when you are ready, you could come. And until then, I still have your back, because women die not because of the domestic violence. Women die because everybody turns their back
right
on her. And when a perpetrator knows he has totally, or she or they have totally isolated you, it's a wrap. You can still be alive, but you're dead. And so I think my whole thing, you know, and of course we can look back and be like, damn, I should have done that differently. But my whole thing is, if I'm your sister, you know, that person is going to know I see you. My sister don't see you. She's in the relationship. She don't got to see you. I have to see you. She'll see you when she's ready to see you.
That's right.
She ain't ready to see you right now. Because if she sees you, she needs to do something, right? She needs to make a choice. So she's not ready to see you, and that's okay. She don't have to. But I see you. Dr. K sees you. Sherlonda sees you. We need to let, you know, that person know we see you.
Yes.
And we see her. And wherever you take her, we'll be there.
Yes. Yes.
And we'll find you, right? And so I think you know, bringing that back has been very helpful, because that is what sisters do in my country.
Wow.
They can do each other's man. They can have each other's babies. They can go through all that crazy shit, but they have each other's back.
Wow.
That's just non-negotiable.
And I was listening to like your specific wording, like when you talked about your mother covering you, and then I hear you talk about, you know, the sister, you know, I'll be right there beside you when you're ready. And until then, from behind you, I got your back. And I was like, that's covering. That's still, that's exactly what you're doing.
Yes, we need to cover our sisters from all sides, and we need to know, we need to let the person know that she's being covered. It's not this invisible covering. No, we need to be very, like, we see you, and we are covering our sister.
Dr. D, I've been just so loving and just so impressed with how much intentionality you give towards taking care of yourself and your healing journey. So for our listeners, what would be, if you could share, like, what would be your top 3 things that you do on a daily basis to make sure that you're taking care of your mental health?
I have started buying some really comfortable ass PJs that I love. Yeah. And I am, you know, every little girl has a story. I am that little girl. So if I would take this off, you would see my bed has Inside Out characters, Hello Kitty characters on it, plushies. And so I love Strawberry Shortcake because it was a little doll that my mom gave me when I was young. So my PJs are all Inside Out, Strawberry Shortcake, Nightmare Before Christmas. And so every night I take a bath, like really with salt or Epsom salt or some good aroma, and just have my body just come down for the day, and, you know, do the face thing with all this new Korean stuff that's happening out here. So I'm into that too. But I get to go to bed smelling good, feeling good, and that really does something for me. I notice that when I don't do it,
I love that.
It shapes me. On the spiritual note, I have an altar, right? And so for folks that are listening, I am not a religious person. I'm an interfaith minister, actually. And so for me, an altar can be anything that you have in your house, a sacred kind of space. It doesn't have to be a religious space, but a space that kind of resembles to you, your strength, your power, where you go to connect to your higher purpose, to your divine self, where you get to kind of realign. And so I have one of those spaces. It is intentional. It has many different cultural tools on it. And so I make sure that there is a light, always a candle, a 7-day candle lit. It never does not have a 7-day white candle lit. And it also has 7 cups of water on it. And so that is my connection to my ancestors, is where I go to be like, listen, y'all done told me I was going to be rich. What happened? Or I can't do this anymore in my humanity. And you all need to step in, because I don't know what else to do in my humanity, in my education, in what I know that I know. I have nothing else to give. And so y'all need to step in, right? So it's where I turn it over to something bigger than me. And I also, and I haven't been too consistent with it, but get up in the morning and do an invocation, and you know, what I'm in gratitude. And sometimes, you know, like if I'm going to come onto a podcast or I'm going to facilitate, I'll be like, you know, dear God, please speak through me. Ancestors, y'all got to speak through me. You know, I didn't rest last night. I didn't do XYZ. Y'all need to come through and do what y'all need to do because the intention is to have healing come through me, right? Or I want to be the light today in the midst of the darkness that I feel, right? Or what's happening in the world. And then I do affirmations, and it's like this one pager that I have, that I do all the time, but I don't do it consistently. So I think the thing about health and wellness and self-care and practices is not to be consistent, is not to use it as something that is punishment. It is something that you just start doing, and you start kind of evaluating, like, oh, this really made me feel good. I want to do that a little bit more. Or like, oh, hey, that didn't work. I don't want to do that no more. Right. So,
and I also feel like different seasons lead you towards different practices too. You know?
Absolutely.
Exactly. And so you spoke about a semi-early retirement, honey. So let's get the details of that, because that sounds like a wellness plan to me. So let's talk about that a little bit. And how does that connect to wealth and how you define it as well, you know?
Semi-early retirement, you know, and we're going to be talking about wealth, but I'm going to tell you, when I created that terminology, it had nothing. I have no money. I just knew that I needed to get out of the United States of America.
Yes.
And so I knew that my goal has always been, my little girl was like, take me home, take me back home, take me back home. There's something I'm missing about home. And so I was, you know, down and out for the count. I wasn't a doctor yet. Wasn't thinking about that. And I ended up back in the Dominican Republic, and I said, you know, I'm going to work from here. And I didn't know what that meant. I had no idea what I was going to work on. I wasn't a consultant yet. I had started being like a little consultant. I think I had $1,000 to my name. And then I said, you know, I'm going to make this intentional, right? Because I wanted to, you know, I want to be a millionaire. I want to be all the things. And so I said, you know, if people ask me, I'm going to say I'm retired. I am semi-retired, and that means that I semi-live here, right? And by the beach and the ocean. And when they need me to go work, I'm going to go fly into the United States and I'll work, and then I'm going to come right back. And I did do that for the first 3 years. I think I did that from 2015 to 2018. And I built my business. It's part of my coaching program. I built it from there, from scratch, just dreaming.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, sis, have you been looking for an opportunity to just get away, to just be? Join me this fall in Panama City, Panama. Contact me at unstuck@drsherlondaadkins.com for more information.
That's what semi-retirement means. And then I came and I got my doctorate. So I came back home and I got my doctorate. And then I said, I'm going back and I'm going to really be retired. So for 3 years, I did nothing.
Oh my goodness.
I did. It's not that I did nothing, but I built a sanctuary. I was building a sanctuary retreat center in the Dominican Republic, but I wasn't coming back and forth as much. And that, you know, and so it was something that came out of nothing, but then became. And I, you know, it's because when we think of retirement, it's like, well, you got to be 70. You have to do all of these things. You have to have X amount of money. Money got to be making money for you. And it's like, no. We get to decide what that looks like. And
define it. You get to create that definition of retirement. Because I always say, I don't ever plan on retiring from the sense of not doing work. My definition of retirement is doing the work that I love to do and want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it, and where I want to do it, and with whom I want to do it.
Exactly. You're not confined. You know, and retirement comes from a very, you know, white privileged, you know, conversation, right? That's just not our reality anymore. Even if we wanted it to be, it is not the world we live in anymore, right? So it's time. It's time for Black sisters, Black and brown sisters to think about a different type of conversation around wealth and retirement.
Sherlonda and I even spoke about, you know, her dreaming about being bicoastal too, and that dream coming to fruition. I spoke about my dreaming of taking women to an international country and making the announcement without even knowing where it was on the map, right? And so the importance of dreaming. So when people see us in this space as, you know, girlfriend doctors, like understanding that it really starts with that dream and that seed. So tell us a little bit more about that and how important that is for wealth building too.
Yeah, I think, you know, the way that we're taught dreaming here in the United States is you need to have a plan. Right. And that's not dreaming. Dreaming has no plan. It has no clarity. Dreaming is literally believing that you have it all and dreaming into a space that everything you need for that to come true will happen. Right. Dreaming has to be something that when, you know, it comes out of your mouth, you're like, absolutely not. Like, that's never going to happen for me. Like, I don't even see that in my future. That's when you know you have a dream. If you can plan it, it's not a dream. It's a to-do list. It is a nonprofit. It is.
Wait, wait, hold on. Where's my emoji? Hold on. Effects. Okay.
Yeah, no.
I love that.
I know it sounds like what we three have in common is we put something out there. You know,
Yes.
I'm gonna take sisters to a different world. And then you was like, not only am I gonna dream it, but I'm gonna put it on the calendar without knowing if that's really ever gonna happen, right? So dreaming is also doing the things you know you can do to make it happen now. Even though you don't know when it's gonna happen. So, you know, I think the other day I told a sister of mine, I said, you know, everything I do, I'm launching something.
Yes.
I don't know if it's gonna sustain. I don't know if it's good. Like, you know, when y'all talk to me about the podcast, I was like, I don't even know who's listening to the thing. It was everything that I do is about taking me to the next level.
Yes.
It is not about sustainability. It is not about this is what's gonna make me a millionaire. And you know, if I launch this, I need to learn about YouTube and I need to learn about ChatGPT. No. For me, even with my podcast, somebody told me I needed to do a podcast 10 years ago. And I was like, y'all, you crazy. That's not gonna happen. And it took me because it was about my voice. So when we're talking about survivors, we're talking about healing. You know, I had to really get comfortable with like, what is it going to look like for me to have my face talking to people in a world where we're being canceled and judged? Like, I just could not conceive that I was ever going to do that. And then I launched it. I didn't know what I'm doing. I just, somebody said, go on YouTube, you could click on some stuff, record yourself and put it on social media. So I did a TikTok, and I did it. I have no idea what's happening with it.
And you've been doing it and it's been amazing. I love every time I get my notification that there's a new episode. I'm like, ooh, what my girl up to now?
I love that. That makes me feel good because really,
and
I
you
have
be
no
looking
idea.
fly too. You know, she's just cute all the time. I'm just like, it
So
sounds
she
good. That's all I know.
You need different color glasses.
Exactly. What I know is the revolution is not gonna go down unless I look good.
Yeah, I know that's right.
But that's so good to know because you know, again, dreaming, you think that it has to be a certain way. And you know, your dream has to be about you. You're always dreaming about you being the next thing and the next thing. And so, yeah.
Thank you for saying that part because that just set me free when you said it's not about sustainability because there's been so many things that I've launched and maybe did like 1 or 2 times and then had to battle with, well, was it a failure? Like, I know God led me to do this, but it was for that moment. It wasn't tied to, nobody ever said, again, whose definition of success am I measuring that against? And so that's something that I had to learn. And I'm still learning as I continue to have these creative ideas and these ventures that it's okay for it to be what it is in that moment and at that time.
That's right.
And it's also like asking yourself from now on, what is this developing in me? Because it's a muscle. So you launch something and you're thinking that you're launching something for the purpose of redefining success and wealth and all of these things. But you know, when I talk about spirituality, the bigger purpose of why you did those 2 was maybe you needed to really work on the muscle of whatever was the most painful part and the struggle of even doing that 1 or 2 times that you did that. And that was what that moment was about. Because whatever you developed in that moment is going to be part of what's going to make you wealthy tomorrow.
Amen.
Amen. That. Oh my God. Courage is what comes up. You know what I mean? And like you said, it's that strengthening that muscle. And sometimes, you know, I think we can get carried away with, you know, the Western perspective of there's a timeline for this, and this is how you have to do it. And these are the steps, and it has to come in this order. And somehow, if we don't follow that order or follow that timeline, we can be very hard on ourselves, you know, but we don't lose if we're learning. It's like that one quote from Mandela, right? Like Mandela, that I don't lose. I either win or learn. So we can't lose either way, you know? So the question we asked was, when you imagine taking off your lab coat, your blazer, your heels, and speaking woman to woman, what feels most important to share? And you said the real life ups and downs, the fears and the joys of what is happening in the world right now, both with our professions and with people of color. You shared that you want to offer a moment of breath and exhale, as well as hold the contradictions of being in sisterhood, being professional, being in relationships, and all the hats we wear and the stories we hold. Ooh, right? Oh my goodness.
Are these girlfriends
deep or are they deep? Right.
They're deep. They deep.
Right? They deep, honey. So let's talk about that. What were you thinking of? Expand on that as you were sharing.
I think it goes back to the question that you all asked around, like, what did I bring from my experience, right, of going back home? And I think more and more, I think sisters should leave the United States and either go back home and or visit other people's homes. There is just so much to learn there. And I think these last couple of years, especially the political times we're living in right now, I know I have been going through a deep reckoning and living in my own contradictions, right? And then coaching sisters, right? Who, we were told, that success was going to be guaranteed if we made it this far, if we finished this education this way, right? Things were going to be guaranteed to us if we did it a certain way. And that is not the world we are living in. And so my reckoning is, who am I now in this new world? Because I was set up to live in a different world.
Yes.
Where my resume spoke for itself. It's supposed to open doors, who I knew, blah, blah, blah. That is not the world we're living in, right? And so sitting with that and sitting with the contradictions of sisterhood, which are really real. The way that survivors also sit with, I hate this person who did this to me, but also that was the person that I loved. Right. And you have to hold that. Those things are super real. And so I think just in redefining who I am now, right? What can I offer? That's what I've been sitting with. Like, okay, well, what do I offer us now? Right? Because it's not the same thing I was offering 3, 4, 5 years ago. That is what I can offer, is for in a world that deems us invisible and disposable, that people are seen, that people are heard, that it's okay to hold joy and anger, and success and poverty, because one day we're successful, the next day we're poor as hell. You can still dream while you're also grieving dreams that didn't come true. While you're also, holding the fear of success while being successful. Right. That's my biggest thing. Like, I am successful and I'm still afraid of being successful. All at the same time as I'm putting in thinking about myself. So I decided that's the space that I want to be. I want to be that sanctuary space for our community right now, and remind us that, they really can't take anything from us. If we know if we know what our assignment is on this earth, and we know that, heaven is rich. And we know who we work for. The minute that we decide that we work in this human world, we're screwed. But if you can remind yourself, I work for something so much bigger than this, that nobody can take from me, then you'll always have, right? You'll always be wealthy. And I know that's such a cliche, but I think I haven't been so grounded in that during these times. Where so many of our Black and brown sisters are losing their jobs and our communities are starving and we're just living in deep fear. We got to hold on to, if not your own culture and your own spirituality, you need to start borrowing other people's cultures and spirituality.
So you can get it together, right?
We need a hodgepodge of a whole lot of stuff to get us through this time.
And that's exactly what this was born out of, so that we can share our collective experiences and encourage each other, because just like, you encouraged me in that moment, there's always something we can pull from each other. So this has been amazing. Thank you so much for being here. I'm inspired now. I'm ready to go do some more dreaming.
The takeaway, one of the many for me, is just that how important that spiritual piece is to the work that we're doing. And I think even for most of, I can't speak for all, but I think for most of us that have pursued a doctorate, it's because we want something more, right? That's like a physical manifestation of this thing that is larger than us, but we've been, purposed and called to do a thing. We've been driven to that assignment, right? And the PhD is just a representation of, I want however I can maximize and elevate and expand, support community and hold all of that. Whatever that route is what I'm going to do. So I just love the spiritual piece, because it's just affirming for me too, that like, even this podcast is very spiritual, right? With us coming together as women of color doctors and girlfriends and just sharing. So thank you so much, girlfriend. I know how to get you on a text message. Thank you, Lord. I feel so blessed that I have y'all on the phone to bone basis. But for everyone else who is just getting to know you, how do they reach you? How do they get in touch? What kind of services do you offer, from the speaking, everything? Let the people know how they can reach you.
That's a good one. I have it written down right here because, I'm not good at this stuff. But you could definitely go to my website. It's my name, dayanaramalte.org. I also have a Substacks where you can really delve deep into my personal story, right? And be in a deeper relationship with me. So, everything that I'm going to tell you, all my social media handles are my name, Dr. Dayanara Marte. So you can go to Substacks and find me there. I'm on Instagram where I'll share more of my family, little bits and pieces of my personal life so that we can, see each other from that space. And then most recently, I have a YouTube channel and a podcast called Trauma Made Me Do It. And I was debating between Every Little Girl Has a Story, Trauma Made Me Do It. And I think I interchange both now whenever I feel like it. Yes. But you could definitely find me on YouTube and look at my podcast where I really talk about the art of being a survivor and reframing some different things and take us out of victimhood and more into this empowered space. And I think what I'm known for is my organizational consulting work, where I provide executive coaching to sisters and communities that are on the front lines, filling in the gap where the government has left us, and who's healing the healers. And so that is the work that I do.
Yes, and you are amazing at it. So continue the great, amazing, powerful spiritual work that you are doing. We feel so blessed to have you on this podcast.
Yes.
For sharing so openly, and I'm so happy that we got more girlfriends connected. So to everyone doing, thank you so much. It's been another amazing episode of All Docs on Deck.
All Docs
on Deck. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor.
Yes.
We are in for a treat. I have my friend, Dr. CC with us.
Figured out God tapped me and said, hey, it doesn't have to be done the way you want it done.
Right.
It can still be successful. Yes. It can still be good. It can still be checked off the list. It doesn't have to look exactly how you would want it to look.
Oh, that is so important. So many people need to hear that, me included.
Figured out